Down here at the bottom left-hand corner of Antigua, we have our yellow Terran player from Western Wolves, down 1-2 in this best of 9. It is Sting. His opponent here in the upper right-hand corner is our pink Zerg player from the Team FX Open Esports, reigning IPL live event champion, the reigning IPL Fight Club champion, the reigning MLG champion, currently in the round of 4 at Combs in Your World Championships. It is FX Leenock.
That was quite the introduction. I feel like you were introducing him at a wedding. Ladies and gentlemen, the current reigning champion from multiple tournaments around the world. Sting's got his work cut out for him, for real, though.
He went from Northeastern to British.
Did it?
Slipped through Irish, and then found its way back on the East Coast
I
again.
could just stick with Irish if you want.
There you go.
That's a better one.
Yes. I like the breathless, like, slightly exasperated Irish accent there, too, so...
You have like such a meticulous analysis, Kevin. I would love to have a palaver someday concerning accents.
I can only do redneck.
Yeah?
So that's half my
Give me a redneck.
What's up?
Well, just, you know what? Let's just, at one point during our cast today, can you just throw it in there? Preferably in a play-by-play, so it's way more... All right, guys. No 2-Rex this time. In fact, a CC first coming out of Sting.
That's what I was anticipating. I mean, he's only going to have to watch out for that if, you know, Leenock ends up making a round of like 8 to 12 lings, like he has been pretty early on in these games to hold off any sort of 2-Rex pressure. That could become an issue. Looks like Leenock, though, may be eyeing up a 17 pool. No, 17 gas. 16 pool afterwards, maybe even a 17 pool, so possibly as late as it can possibly get. Leenock getting great reads off of his opponent. And it was indeed a 16 pool afterwards. So he's going to pick up on what Sting is doing. Very soon he'll know of this this expansion. Sees, though, that it's only one barracks being placed up at the front.
And this is the reason why my #1 note on Leenock, on my note page on Notability, is incredible tournament player. This guy he just like mind reads you. He really does. He's like Miss Cleo, but 2013 edition.
I was about to say that was a blast from a decade ago.
Yeah,
Miss
because
Cleo.
I mean, he hasn't been going for the gas before pool, which is what he prefers. But he's like, look, you've been 2-Rexing me all these games. I just destroyed it last game, so I'm gonna switch over and I'm gonna play like really greedy how I want to play because you're probably gonna do the same thing. And it's just, I don't know, man. He's just really, really good at reading this stuff. So now Leenock is exactly where he wants to be in this situation. CC first, though, out of Sting, so he's not going to be too malcontent either. All
right. Well, yeah, the real question is going to be how quickly does he move into his third command center. Going with a single gas, it's going to keep him a little bit slower to any sort of Cloak Banshee play. He's still, with this kind of thing, though, we can go towards the third command center and hit with like that 8 Hellion single Banshee attack that's really designed to disrupt economy over at a third. This being Antigua Shipyard 2, he could do something that's designed to work through the destructible rocks very early on and keep pressure on his opponent and keep him pinned into 2 bases. Of course, Leenock's the kind of player, though, who always wants to stay on 2 bases for a while. Really aggressively tech up.
So, Sting saw something important there. He saw the 3 gases, and in fact, this timing out of Leenock taking that second gas looks like it could be a Roach Bane play. We'll be keeping it actually really looks like it. But hey, you know, if he drops some follow-up gases here, so he's going for the lair. Now, we've actually still seen him do this. It's you know, it's not out of the question or anything. Watch for 3rd and 4th gases. If we don't see them, then it could be something of that nature. Elsewise, could be going for a fast 3rd here, actually. No, those are Zerglings over there right now. So what's Sting going on? I see a starport on the way for right now. And
yeah.
It may be exactly what you were talking about earlier. Lots of Hellions and a Banshee.
Yeah, nothing's out of the ordinary for him right now. He's going to make a Banshee here in just a second. This will time up nicely with those both coinciding. We can see from Leenock, though, that his layer tech's just about to finish up, and he did go for 3rd and 4th gas, so those are going to pop along here very quickly. This is a map where it's potential to get in there and do some damage with oh, nice job picking off 1 SUV there, with some sort of Mutalisk play, but Burrowed Infestors are actually quite powerful here, too, especially if you can navigate around those destructible debris.
I'm just seeing the strength of Leenock's openings right now. This is actually, like, awesome. How he is able, by the way, like, his Roach Bane all-in build actually has like this opening until the third and fourth gas timing. It's just so cool seeing how diverse he can be. And even with that quick lair, he'll be like, hey, guess what? I'm going to drop an Overlord while I make you lift, like a lot of, those pushes do. Maybe they make you lift at your natural, but they don't kill you. He'll actually just bring a Queen and drop creep tumors that will make you not be able to land your natural. It's like, Leenock, man, just so impressive. But as for now, he's going to be playing a pretty standard game here. Looking like he's going into that Muta play, which is just going to counter the hell out of Stink's build.
Yeah, I mean, Sting is
Really
going for that 8 Hellion single Banshee thing that I was talking about before. Second Banshee following this up, so if the attack goes on long enough, he can poke into the natural or the main and do some damage with a secondary Banshee. A bunch of Zerglings trying to run around this Hellion force, and that's very clever because it's going to pull these units away and set this attack back by, well, a very long time, actually.
Yeah, but this build choice couldn't get any better for Leenock. He read this very, very well. And now he's going to be able to make 8 Mutas here in a second. He does need to hold off these aliens and not take a lot of economic damage, but barring that happening, and he's going to get almost, yep, he gets the full surround, and Sting now is going to be faced with this Mutalisk follow-up, and he's probably just, I mean, he may not die if he, yeah, there's the armory starting up right now. That's a very important timing for him, but I don't know if it's fast enough, Kev.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, things are looking really, really bad for him at the moment. He needs to be able to get out some anti-air whatsoever. Looks like one Viking is already up, but he doesn't even have enough right now to deal with these Zerglings. There we go. A few Hellions popping out up at the front. Looks like those are going to duck away. It's going to allow Leenock to actually take his third inside the middle of the map. This is being denied, and he doesn't care. Yeah.
I mean, he's got complete and utter map control right now, but, we were talking about it yesterday. Or, you know what, it wasn't yesterday because it was the weekend. We were talking about it a few casts ago. I was having so much trouble with this Hellion Banshee, and I went to Sasquatch and went, what's your favorite way to beat this build? And he says 2-base Muta. Kills it every time. Here we are, 2-base Muta, Leenock versus Sting, guys. He opened with that exact build, and now he's in a world of hurt.
Yeah, it looks like this Viking actually going to survive as a couple of missile turrets get placed down, but the one inside of the main is there even one inside of the main? No, it looks like he's giving it up for the time being. Viking swung back in without taking any sort of repair. A little surprised about that.
Thor are just now being started. This is going to be a reign of terror for these 6 Mutalisks, and they've already gotten quite an amount of work done. Going to be able to kill off the SCV that's building the missile turret, and will he get the cancel? No, does not.
Now, the only problem Leenock gets into in these circumstances is that he's supply blocked, and he does that to himself quite a bit. It's really the only flaw that's in his play. So he's investing in a lot of upgrades, making an additional hatchery, a macro hatch, at the same time continuing with these Mutalisks. Ends up picking off the Banshee and loses 1 Mutalisk in return, I think. But regardless, he's done pretty good damage here.
Yeah, he drove the SCVs away from the bunker, now surrounded the bunker with Lings. Will be pulling out afterwards, and so many of those Mutalisks in the red.
Yeah, quite considerably in the red, too. So we're down to just about 3 or 4 hit points apiece. But now Leenock has established pretty good control of the map. He's got his 3rd base done. He can go up to 5 and 6 gas. Actually, his 4th is going to be done here momentarily, just 55 seconds away.
This is pretty cool. So Leenock's going to continue with the, wow, he's like queuing up everything here. Getting +2 air weapons, Overlord drops, speed, Glial Reconstitution, and Banelings and Infestors. So Leenock is really just powerhousing towards everything. I'm going to be looking maybe for that Hive. We know that Leenock does like following up his brutes with roaches, but I mean, the Overlord drops really doesn't point towards that, so.
Good job by Sting there. He actually targeted his own SCV with his Hellions to kill the burrowed Zergling that was underneath, so he didn't have to expend a scan. Of course, you feel bad for that SCV that was sacrificed to do that, but I guess it's for the greater good.
Yeah, that was a pretty sweet play. Needle is going to pick off a couple of supply depots here. And here are the roaches. So there's going to be roach drops, bane drops.
Yeah, I mean, really, at this point, all Leenock wants to do is keep Sting off of this position. 2 mutas are going to die. No, I can't believe the splash didn't hit that second muta there.
That was interesting.
Yeah, I thought that one was gone for sure.
All right, muta's coming forward right now. And the Overlord is going to be a nice little scout there. He'll save a couple of mutas' lives. So, I mean, he's got a ton of queens here. Infestors, no banelings quite yet. Lots of roaches. Glial's done in just a second. And he's got +2, but not many mutas to complement this. So the +2 is definitely an interesting decision, probably for the late game play here.
Yeah, I could imagine so. I mean, it certainly still does have its uses, and we mentioned before that he had gotten very, very supply blocked, so he needed something to do with his money, and upgrades are never a bad way to go about things.
And Thor going to chase away these units for the time being, but Leenock is on 4 bases right now, currently sitting at a nice, comfortable 75 workers. That is to the 58 of Sting. And Neural Parasite, notably. So maybe going to grab himself a couple of Thor, maybe siege tanks here. A lot of possibilities, definitely with... It's very micro-intensive, but with the Overlord drops, he could make some crazy things happen.
Oh, yeah. It could be going for a frontline engagement, too. It is certainly possible. So Leenock really has just complete control of this game. A 3-base Terran is nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, it's still very difficult to try and deal with, but in this scenario, I'd much rather be in Leenock's position. Already with complete control over the middle of the map, he's going to make a 4-roach drop here, or 4 Overlord drop full of roaches, but Sting actually picks up on this very early on.
Yeah, but he's only sending Hellions and 1 Thor. There they go. He does have a siege tank in position, notably, but he stands to lose a lot of Hellions right now as the splash is only hitting about 3 roaches in the bottom. These Hellions are a very important element for Sting in buffering this follow-up attack, and Leenock may be able to just lift here in a second, picks off a Thor and gets away, but does lose a good portion of his mutas.
So the roaches are all eventually going to die, but that frees up supply and buys more time for Hive Tech to finish. 28 roaches produced at the same time. Leenock dumping almost all of his supply into that. Not too many infestors out on the map, to the best of my knowledge. Yeah, just those 3. That's it.
Couple of Neurals, yeah. Seems like that's all he really wants right now. Leenock is so strong with his counterattacks. That's one of the things that we've definitely observed from him in the past. And roaches with tunneling claws, with Gleal, +1/+1, and drops available to them. I mean, fear what Leenock can do with that.
All right, well, Sting now has to make a big stand. He's got to sit back and he's got to cost-efficiently shut down one of these attacks. But the problem is that he doesn't know where it's going to happen at. He's made a couple more command centers to follow things up. Yes, that's a nice little touch, so we can start to sacrifice a bit of his workers and not have to worry about it and continue to buffer his overall army counts. But the issue is that where does he defend? If he defends here, Leenock runs up the gut. If he defends here, then Leenock drops around both of the sides. If he attacks, he runs dead on into a lot of forces, but he's got to get something done, so I'm not terribly opposed to that decision.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit surprised with the counterattack potential. You know, maybe he didn't realize the tunneling claws were on the way as well, but here we go. Leenock going to be coming for a full surround right now, folks. Swinging in from the bottom, from the top. Neural Parasite on the tanks, trying to get damage, dropping roaches as well during all of this. They are Banelings, in fact, and he's, well, gets the SCVs with him. Nice contact there. Overall, pretty even trade, but know that an even trade for mech is pretty much at a loss. Sting has lost a ton of tanks and Thor here.
He did kill a lot of stuff, though. I mean, Leenock is going to have... I mean, he's reproducing his army about 15 seconds slower than he wanted to, because otherwise he would have been at the moment where he could have made a bunch of Corruptors and then started to morph in Broodlords right now. So this was actually pretty well timed out of Sting, I have to say.
Tanks are unsieging. That's exactly what Sting needed, as there were roaches about to sneak up under his siege tanks. Now he's going to be pushing forward once again, but Leenock is remaxed. He's at 185. He's going to push in, and, well, those roaches are very much clumped. The roaches do come in from the back, however. Nice splitting at the end here, but overall, not enough.
Yeah, I mean, this was well timed out of Sting. Like we said, it was a moment that Leenock wanted to be able to sit back, because otherwise, right now, he'd have like 6 or 7 Broodlords, and this is a totally different game if that's the case.
I mean, I fail to see why Leenock. This is actually what I want to mention earlier. Why not a planetary out of Sting, but especially with a mech army, but and Leenock being so good with counterattacks. But Leenock could have dropped on those tanks, Kevin. There were only 2 Thor. Like, he absolutely could have dropped on those tanks and instead marched 50 supply of roaches to die before they really did anything, unfortunately.
All right. Well, a little bit of questionable decision-making after Leenock did have this game well in hand. He was ahead in almost every measurable category. He was ahead in tech. He was ahead in economy, in just sheer bases. Pretty much everything was working for him. Nice Mutalisk to be able to stop this orbital command off to the right-hand side. And looks like this orbital command is going to be lifted off to the top left-hand corner, but Leenock should be able to pick up on that.
Sting is definitely battling his way back into this game, though. Not going to pick off this Broodlord. This is another thing, by the way, that's like trademark Leenock. Lots of Queens and lower Broodlord counts. But Queens are getting picked off. Those are pretty important units. Nice transfuse once again. Will he have another? Yes. In fact, he does. But no 4th base is something that is very, very important to note here for our Zerg player.
Yeah, I mean, and Sting's in a really good spot now.
Yep.
I mean, this is a complete turnaround. I mean, things were looking great for Leenock, and Sting has found a way to battle back, take advantage of some questionable decision-making, and now finds himself in a pretty decent spot. Not really much of a way to put on pressure onto his opponent's economy yet. Needs to rally up that massive late-game force, but he's getting there.
Yeah, you know, you were definitely right about Sting pushing out at the right time. Leenock just had so much, I felt like it just didn't matter, you know. But then Leenock was just kind of careless with his forces, and suddenly we're in this situation where, I mean, with that beautiful timing out of Sting, here comes a counterattack from Leenock, and he needs this to do a lot.
Yeah, I mean, but, you know, you mentioned it. It came at a time that was really disadvantageous for Leenock, and unfortunately, instead of going up and waiting and pushing ahead with higher tech, decided to remax on nothing but roaches and lings, which just got chewed up by that mech army.
All right, well, Sting is
working.
taking too much damage right now. Every SCV at his third has died, almost every SCV in his main, and quite a few at his natural expansion as well. In fact, what is his SCV count currently at? It is
14.
at 14. So Leenock has destroyed Sting with this attack, and now Sting is going to have to follow this up with it all in. Leenock is doing everything he can at home to prepare. It looks like. Why? Does he have larva? He has 5 larva. He needs to use those 5 larva, Kevin, because he has money, and he needs to spend that money. It looks like he's going to be making broods with it.
Yeah, I mean, 6 Broodlords coming out, an additional 7 Corruptors to join that too, because especially right now, Sting basically needs to attack and do economic damage, and he has a very large force. I mean, that is nothing to sneeze at.
Lot of Thor.
Look at this. I mean, now as these Broodlord counts continue to increase, it's going to get increasingly difficult, and Leenock has retaken a big advantage.
Leenock loves his queens. We were talking about this before. Loves his queens on the ground, transfusing his Broodlord. So instead of relying on high Broodlord counts, which kind of, I mean, you know, they die to Thor anyways with that splash damage, he'll leave a fair amount of Corruptors and just transfuse the living hell out of his broods. That said, Leenock can't be losing those queens. If they die to those siege tanks, he's not going to have a way to sustain those broodlords, and he'll end up losing this game. But if he can hold this push off, Leenock's probably going to take the W.
He's got a big Corruptor force, too. There's 5 out, 8 more, 13 in total, in addition to the 8 broodlords that he's going to have on the map. So his force is getting pretty staggeringly large. He likes his infestors, too, but there's only 1 of those on the map. So it's not going to be too big of a threat. It's mostly just going to be this air army with the queen supporting.
All right, well, here comes the push. Hellion's going to be leading the charge here. Leenock can't be losing these queens. That's a really big thing to keep an eye on here. Nice transfuse, going to save 1 for the moment. The Corruptor stacking up a little bit, taking some heavy damage from these Thor.
Yeah.
Very heavy damage, in fact.
That's going to expose the front line of Broodlords. 1 initially dies. I'm going to keep paying attention to this Broodlord count because that's really what's going to make the difference here. Broodlords actually down to just a few left, but the queens keep transfusing those up. So the Broodlords are able to survive for quite a long period of time, and now that the Vikings are down, it's just Thors remaining. The Broodlords are getting whittled down 1 by 1, though. There's only 4 remaining left on the map entirely, but Sting's not really making anything behind this. He just does not have an economy. Leenock still actually pressuring down here with this Roach.
Leenock's not making anything either, Kev. You know, he's got these Corruptors, could morph them into Broodlords. Could also be making Roaches. I mean, he's sitting on 1,600, 500. There we go. Going to be morphing 5 Broods at least. I mean, he's still got a lot of money. Unfortunately, I mean, he's got 11 larvae as well. Could be making units here. He's not.
Very crazy game we're seeing here. This is a little sloppier than I had anticipated out of these 2 players, I have to admit. It's been more kind of a slap down, drag out fight than it has been just kind of clean, large combat. But Leenock's about to lose a base here. He does actually throw down a scan. He's going to pick up on some of these drones that are burrowed underneath too, so he's certainly getting in his licks.
Yeah, he definitely is taking, as you said, you know, Sting needed to do economic damage. Now, here comes a Roach counterattack, so Leenock makes sure that even if he takes damage, if he kills this army, he wins, which is very, very important. Broodlord's going to get in some damage right now. Nice transfuses from these queens, keeping these Broodlords alive as long as possible, and if he can kill these Thor, he can win this game.
Yeah, and he's starting to whittle against these Thors now. As we can see, the front line of those are getting very, very low. There are 3 Broodlords left, so it is going to come down right to the wire, especially as the Roaches are actually reinforcing a little bit too slow. But now, Sting is down to just 44 supply, and each one of these he loses, drops that by 6. So the last Thor is about to fall. The Roach counterattack is hitting down to the bottom left as well, and these siege tanks are going to be able to move through everything, or not going to be able to move through these quick enough.
And while it was a narrow victory, Kevin, it looks like it is going to be a victory for Leenock, as Sting has no way to deal with these Roaches and no army left to kill Leenock. So 13 supply to 130, that's literally 10 times the supply. GG going to go down for Sting.
All right. Well, kind of a dirty game there. I don't know. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't the cleanest game. Leenock ends up taking the win, though, and he's up 3-1 in this best of 9.
Yeah, he is. And, not too surprising there, but Sting is really giving a pretty good showing here. Game 1 and 2, he looked very strong. Game 3, the 2 racks didn't work out so well for him, but he gave a pretty good showing there. It really, Leenock just did way too much damage, I think, with that when he split roaches everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, he capitalized on a couple of Leenock's mistakes, but it wasn't enough to carry him to victory. So, game number 5 is going to be on Metropolis, and Sting can play that very late game mech into Raven composition, which is so popular on this map. So, we'll see if that's what ends up happening here. We're going to go to a commercial break, though, and see if Sting can start to rally back from this 3-1 deficit, or if Leenock is going to move just one game away from taking his second week at Fight Club.